Saludos amigas y amigos del EcoExploratorio Museo de Ciencias de Puerto Rico. Mi nombre es Rivera y estaré con ustedes como moderador para el webinar de la tarde de hoy. Nuestro último webinar de este martes lleno de mucha información relacionada a la biotecnología agrícola, que junto a nuestros amigos de Pravia, quienes están celebrando su 25 aniversario aquí en Puerto Rico, hemos traído para celebrar la Semana de Biotecnología Agrícola en Ciencia Virtual del EcoExploratorio. En la tarde de hoy nos acompañan dos recursos muy importantes, quienes van a estar hablando de la temática del día, que es manejo de recursos. Para ello nos acompaña el doctor Alok Arun, quien es facultad e investigador de la Universidad de Puerto Rico, recinto en la Universidad Interamericana de Puerto Rico, recinto de Barranquitas. Él nos va a estar hablando de el Institute of Sustainable Biotechnology o el Instituto de Biotecnología Sustentable dentro del recinto. Esa sección, que se extiende de 5 a 5 y media, será en su totalidad en inglés. Si ustedes desean enviar sus preguntas para esa sección con el doctor Alok, pueden enviarla en inglés o en español, como ustedes deseen. Al final del webinar, antes de las 6 de la tarde, estaremos llevando a cabo las preguntas, estaremos leyendo las preguntas para que ambos recursos la puedan contestar en vivo. También nos acompaña a partir de eso de las 5 y media, el del grupo Ecatus de Puerto Rico, el Rody Rivera, quien es el Country Leader de Ecatus Puerto Rico. Él nos va a estar hablando sobre el proyecto Rémora de la UPR Río Piedras, junto también con uno de sus estudiantes que más adelante estará en la sección de preguntas con nosotros. Esa sección va a ser en español, pero cualquier cosita, si desean enviar sus preguntas en inglés o en español, de igual manera lo pueden hacer. Para ello, si nos están viendo a través de Facebook Live, pueden hacerlo a través de los comentarios. En la sección de comentarios pueden enviar sus preguntas, sus comentarios o sus saluditos, que en confianza estaremos ahí con ustedes moderando esa sección de comentarios y extrayendo las preguntas para hacerlas al final del webinar, al final de ambas presentaciones. Si ustedes nos están viendo a través de Zoom, recuerde que puede hacer lo mismo en la sección de Q&A. En los botoncitos de abajo van a ver dos nubecitas con la Q y A en la parte de abajo. Es ahí donde ustedes van a presionar para poder enviar sus preguntas tanto al doctor Alok Arun como a Rody Rivera y el grupo de Ecatus Puerto Rico. Pero nada, no les tomo más tiempo porque es para mí un placer presentar el primer recurso del día de la tarde de hoy, y para ello voy a transicionar ahora en inglés para beneficio de nuestro recurso. This evening we are pleased to present to you Dr. Alok Arun. He is research faculty on the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico, the Barranquita campus, and he will be talking to us about the Institute of Sustainable Biotechnology, STEM education and research in empowering agriculture in Puerto Rico. Remember that if you want to send your questions, you can do so through the comments on our Facebook Live or through the Q&A on Zoom. And now, for all you and on behalf of the EcoExploratorio and Pravia, I present to you Dr. Alok Arun.
Well, thank you, Henry, for such a generous introduction. I hope everybody can see my slides.
Yes, very well. We see them.
Perfect. So good evening, everybody. Excuse me for the fact that I would be speaking in English. I'm still trying to improve my Spanish. And hopefully by the next year annual meeting, I would be speaking to you guys in Spanish. So today I'm going to talk about my institute and in the university where I work, which is located in the beautiful city of Barranquitas. I have divided my presentation into two parts. In the first part, I will be talking about the STEM courses that we have in our institute in the university campus. And in the second part, I will be telling you some of the research that we are doing in our university campus to empower agriculture of Puerto Rico. So the first question that might come into the mind of some of you is, where exactly is Barranquitas? So, well, for those who do not know Barranquitas, Barranquitas is located in the central region of Puerto Rico. And it's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful mountainous town. If you have not come here, you're most welcome to visit it. In this city, we have this Inter-American University of Puerto Rico Barranquitas campus. And within this campus, this Institute of Sustainable Biotechnology, in short also known as ESBIOT, is located. This institute is a brainchild of Dr. Juan Negron Berrios, who is now the chancellor of this university campus. He had this vision to create a biotechnology platform in the center of the island, which can cater to the need of the students as well as the farmers and other people from the community. The primary goal of this institute is twofold. The first one is education and research. And the second one is that we try to integrate the aspects of sustainability and outreach through our education and research. One classical example of sustainability that you can very vividly see here is that in our institute that you can see here, for example, we generate 30% of the electricity required for this institute from the solar panels that you can see here. We have several aspects that we keep into consideration to be environmental friendly. And the primary goal of this institute is basically to develop science which can reach the farmers, and so that it can improve not only the food crops, but also the livelihood of the farmers. And then eventually all these three things, science, farmers, and the food crops, should directly or indirectly impact the community. So it should help the community to prosper. So in order to integrate these four different components of our primary goals, at the university campus in Barranquitas, we have different programs of STEM. I'm going to focus primarily on biotechnology because this event is focusing on biotechnology. So we have, in our university campus, we provide a lot of training in the areas of fundamental and advanced aspects of biotechnology to high school students from Puerto Rico. We always have a generous support of Corteva in order to sponsor these kind of training programs, but these training programs are also sponsored by the university itself. Every year we train approximately 40 to 60 students who are coming from high school and who are exposed to the cutting edge research biological aspects in the areas of biotechnology. The second degree that we have here in terms of biotechnology is an associate 2-year degree in biotechnology. Then we also have a bachelor's program in biotechnology. We have a very good master's program in biotechnology. And very recently, in fact, from this month, we got the approval to start a doctoral program in international biotechnology. Now, the focus of all of these programs can be broadly summarized into these fundamental aspects. The first one is that we try to empower the learning skills among the students. We also try to develop critical thinking skills among the students. We also want our students not only to be bookworms, but we also want to develop their entrepreneurial skills so that they can actually develop these technologies that they learn during the classroom into some aspects that can be helpful for the society. We also promote a lot of university industry interaction, and one example that I just gave you here is Corteva, where students from our university campus also visits the different industries in Puerto Rico. And we try to develop interactions and collaborations with the industries. But finally, our key focus is on agriculture and technology development. So we basically focus on land-based agriculture, which I think most of you are familiar with, but we're also trying to leap into what is called ocean-based agriculture or blue agriculture that I will be explaining to you in a couple of minutes later. So if just one example, if you look at the outcome of the Masters in Biotechnology, we have almost 22 students who have graduated so far from this a 4 or 5 year old program in Masters in Biotechnology, and 100% of those students are working with either Corteva, Amgen, Lilly, and all the other different companies that are in the island. Some of the students are also working in the universities. So what we try to do is we are basically trying to understand the biology of the crops that could be potentially native or non-native from Puerto Rico. So we basically work on two different kinds of crop. We work on orphan crops, and we also work on commercial crops. For those people who are not familiar with the concept of orphan crops, so orphan crops are those crops which are traditionally not used on a commercial scale. Technically, if you want to define it, orphan crops are a diverse set of minor crops, if you want to tell them, that tend to be regionally important. For example, that is specific to a particular region of a community, let's say in Barranquitas, for example, but is not traded around the world. So over the past few years, the focus has shifted from the commercial crops to orphan crops also. So we are working with some of the orphan crop. The first orphan crop that I'm showing you here is apio. Some of you might be aware of this crop. This is a very common crop grown in Orocovis and Barranquitas, and in some places in Adjuntas. So this orphan crop is one important orphan crop that I will be explaining you in a couple of minutes later, why we should study it. This another orphan crop is a strawberry from, let's call it a berry from Puerto Rico. And then there are some commercial crops like cacao, plantain that you might be seeing here, and grapes. So we are primarily working on these different crops among others. And I will be focusing my talk on some of these crops that we work with. For all the research that we are doing in our university campus, we try to integrate these different mechanisms or methodologies, if you want to say. We use transcriptome, genomic, and metabolomics approach. We use metagenomics approach. We also used host pathogen interaction approaches to study how plants get sick and how we can improve their life. We also do a lot of tissue culture and transformation experiments here. And what we try to do is we try to link all of these four different aspects to the farmer, which is the essential goal of our mission. So let us start with some of the crops that we are working with. So the first crop that we are working with is apio. So apio is scientifically known as Aracacia xanthorrhiza, and I think some of you might be familiar with a apio festival in Barranquitas that happens somewhere in April, I guess. So now this is a very interesting plant because many people in Puerto Rico also eat this special root stock and the storage roots that you see here. But you would be amazed to know that this crop is a leading crop for producing baby products in terms of baby food in Brazil, for example. So we are trying to understand the biology of this crop. So in order to do that, we are trying to do some tissue culture. So we are trying to raise aseptic plants in the lab. So you can see here that, for example, we take one small part of the tissue from this plant, and then we grow it under suitable medium conditions, giving them proper nutrition under the lab conditions, and then they grow into a plant. We are also trying to develop genomic tools for this crop. And why we should develop genomic tools for a crop, because it helps us to understand not only the biology, but also improve the biology of the crop, meaning you can have a better output, you can protect your plant from pests. So this understanding of genomic tools is very important. So far what we have done is we have sequenced a chloroplast genome of this apio crop from Puerto Rico, and we already have published it. Right now, we are working with sequencing the RNA that is present in different parts of the apio. So for example, from flower, from leaves, from roots, and we have created a database. If you want to access this database, you can access it from this link. But right now, this is password protected. So if any one of you is interested in understanding or looking into some details, please contact us. We recently also got a grant to sequence the nuclear genome of apio. So we would be sequencing the genome of the Puerto Rican apio with a collaboration from some groups across the world. The second crop that or plant we were working with is cacao. I hope all of you are very familiar with it. So in the field of cacao, what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate tissue cultured plants. So plants that are free of pests or pathogens, okay, or at least have a very reduced load of pathogens. So we try to grow them under tissue culture conditions. And if you see here, this is, I'm representing to you a typical cycle of plant growth under tissue culture conditions. So what we do in our lab, for example, is we take the flowers and we dissect the there's the stamen of the flower, which is a male reproductive part. And then from that small part, we try to regenerate a plantlet that you can see here. And the goal is basically to increase the production of cacao plant in Puerto Rico so we can be self-sustainable in terms of production. So what we have seen is that when you try to do tissue culture of cacao in the lab, it takes almost 3 to 4 months. So in terms of biology, we wanted to reduce this time span of working with the life cycle. So Javier, who was a master's student and who now works with Corteva, what he did was he tried to find out the genes that could be potentially involved in controlling this life cycle of the cacao in plant tissue culture conditions. So we identified a set of genes that we think are involved in it. What you're seeing here in this graph is basically an expression plot of genes that are expressed in one tissue compared to another tissue. So, and the red color is showing you that the genes is expressed more, and the blue color is showing you that the genes are expressed less. So for example, if you see here, there's a white line here, which represents one single gene. And if you see here, that same gene is red in color, which means that this gene is more abundant compared to this tissue, which can suggest that there's a potential role of this gene in controlling some aspects of the life cycle in the tissue culture conditions. So we are investigating the role of specialized genes called polychrome group of genes, and we have done some CRISPR-Cas assays to see if we knock down or if we remove that gene partially or completely, is it possible to reduce the time span of tissue culture conditions of cacao in the lab? And if it is successful, then what we aim to do is we can grow a lot of cacao plants in a shorter span of time. The third project that we are currently working with is the commercial propagation of pathogen-free or at least low pathogen load plantains and bananas and their molecular characterization. So you know that we consume a lot of banana in Puerto Rico, and perhaps all of them are coming from outside. So we try to create a platform where we could generate a lot of plantain plants locally so that the farmers do not have to depend on the export. Second reason is most of the time we are hit by hurricanes, and then we have to completely depend on the outside companies for getting these plantain seedlings, for example. So what we try to do is we try to commercially propagate these banana plantlets in our lab. So these are some of the pictures, and we transport. Once these plants mature, we give them to the farmers. So here's one farmer receiving hundreds of plants from us. And then we also try to make sure that all these plantlets that we're giving to the farmers are good in quality. So we use some molecular techniques to determine the quality of the plants. Some of those who are familiar with the molecular techniques will know that we use markers, and we use markers to assess that all the plants have almost the same genetic background. All this work of genetic background testing has been done by Christina. You can see here she loves the plantain project. So in order to expand the plantain vision of our Chancellor, Dr. Negron, he is currently going to build a Center for Food Security and Sustainable Agriculture in Barranquilla's campus. So this is going to be a commercial plant tissue culture facility in which we will, of course, have a very strong teaching component where we will teach not only students, but also farmers how to propagate pathogen-free or at least less pathogenic strains of banana or plantain in Puerto Rico. This is just an outline of the map, and this is the future building that is going to come up in the Barranquilla's campus. This will serve as a platform for modern and sustainable agriculture. We also believe that building such a center is going to definitely provide employment opportunities to a lot of people in Puerto Rico. And we will certainly be providing a lot of training facility to the farmers on a regular basis. If you want to know more about this center, I would request you to contact our Chancellor, Juan Negron. His email is here. So then moving into another project that we are currently working on in our lab, it's called Interberry Project. Now, many of you, including me, loves berries. I love strawberries, cherries, but whenever I go to a supermarket, the first thing I look on while buying a strawberry pack is the price of the strawberry. There are different factors that increases the price of the berries product. One of the important factors is the low shelf life. And because it has a low shelf life, it has to be transported fast. And that's why the cost of packing goes up. And that's why when the product comes to your shelves in let's say in Costco, it's very expensive. So we have this project where we want to understand if it is possible to grow berry on a commercial scale in Puerto Rico. So we're exploring options. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a production network of high quality berries. And we want to focus on a particular strain of berries that is found in Puerto Rico. If you can see here, this is a tiny, small red berry. So we have started to work on these red berries. We want to first we have identified this species. So it seems that this is an endemic species. We are currently developing genomic tools to understand the biology and to improve the traits of this species. Efrain, who is a master's student with us, he is currently trying to sequence he has sequenced actually the chloroplast genome of rubus from Puerto Rico. And the phylogenetic analysis that we performed tells us that this rubus species is very close to Rubus corenius, another rubus species. So we are currently working on further characterizing this rubus species. But the goal here is to micropropagate these berries at a commercial level so that eventually in the near future, we can farm berries under controlled climatic conditions. So then I just talked about some of the land-based agriculture. Then I'm going to talk to you about some of the novel things that we are trying to implement in Puerto Rico is blue agriculture. So what exactly is blue agriculture? Blue agriculture basically means doing farming in the ocean. I know some of you are like surprised, how can you do farming in the ocean? But yes, you can. Now here, for example, when you go on a beach, you see different kinds of small plant-like material that we call alga, or which are also known as seaweeds, okay? And the seaweeds are massive in terms of diversity. They can be small, measuring up to a few inches, and then it can be as large as up to 40, 50, 60 meters. So you can see here one person holding a seaweed or a marine plant, if you would like to say, okay? So a lot of countries are currently involved in farming this, in these kind of different plants by selecting the plants that you're interested in marine water. So Puerto Rico has this big advantage that we are surrounded by water. So why are we not exploring this option yet? You'd be amazed to know that your day starts with a toothpaste and your day, and you end your day typically with an ice cream, for example. And each of the items that you use throughout your day has some component of these algae that is coming from the ocean, be it your dairy products, be it your non-dairy products like jams, syrups, be it your pharmaceutical products, medical products. It has a huge application base. If you look at the market value of these seaweeds or the plants or alga, it is estimated to be approximately around $11.7 billion. So you can imagine what a big industry it is. But why we should be talking about blue agriculture? It's because if you look at the biochemical composition of these seaweeds, when you look at the plants, okay, the plants relatively can have a higher insoluble polysaccharides. But if you look at the soluble polysaccharides, plants have negligible soluble polysaccharides. And if you look at the green, red, and brown alga, which are the three different kinds of alga, what you see is that they have a very high content of these soluble polysaccharides, which can be used for further downstream processes. These algae are also used for food. For example, I'm pretty sure that some of you must be a fan of sushi, right? So the black thing that you see around the sushi, the covering of the sushi is actually an alga thallus, okay? Alga is also used nowadays for making foams for shoes. We have this collaborator from USA, Ran, who is currently building foams for shoes. So we are working in close collaboration with him. Now, so if you look at scientifically why we should study these seaweeds or this alga from the ocean, they have a higher biomass production rate per unit of area. I mean, no matter how much we make progress in the field of plant sciences, we are still limited by the land, but ocean is limitless. So if they have higher biomass, it's because they have a higher photosynthetic rate. It's also a very good system for sequestering carbon dioxide. So meaning it can help to reduce global warming directly or indirectly. There is no diversion of food from the human food chain. And of course, if you try to implement seaweed cultivation, it offers employment to the rural areas people. And there are other different advantages. And one thing I would like to focus on is, if you look at the places that are currently involved in seaweed farming, you will see that the Southeast Asia, which is marked in red color, they're intensively doing the seaweed farming. Most of the world are slowly getting into it. You can see it in green, in yellow, for example. Even in the coast of Chile, for example, they are doing massive seaweed farming. Slowly it's coming into the south, in the west and the east coast of America. But look at Puerto Rico. We are doing almost nothing with the seaweed farming. And it's a pity because we are surrounded by oceanic water, which provides a good opportunity for doing this kind of cultivation. So last year we took this initiative where we started a symposium on blue agriculture, where we called experts from all over the world, France, Chile, South Korea, Japan, to see the possibility and the feasibility of doing blue agriculture in Puerto Rico. And all of the experts from different countries, they certainly believe that we have a potential to start this seaweed agriculture or sea agriculture. So within this framework, we have recently been awarded a grant from National Science Foundation, where we plan to create a STEM force which can understand the significance of marine biotechnology, that can implement marine biotechnology in their real life issues. So one of the goals of this program is to create a minor in marine biotechnology, and we hope that we will be starting this minor in marine biotechnology in January 2021. We also plan to develop a marine museum as a part of this NSF project at the Inter Barranquitas campus. We recently opened a laboratory of biotechnology of alga. You are most welcome to visit whenever you have time and when the situation improves. We have already performed a workshop on sustainable applications of microalgal biotechnology by inviting speakers from USA who are the experts in their field. We generally do these kind of workshops every 6 months, so please keep an eye on the workshops. Okay, so just quickly telling you what we are currently doing with the seaweeds and alga. So I'm pretty sure that most of you are aware of the sargassum problem in Puerto Rico and in the Caribbean region, actually. So what we started to do was to see if these sargassum could be used for some things. For example, can we create a sustainable biofertilizer from sargassum? So Idalia was a master's student who was working with us to see the effect of this sargassum on the growth of the plant. And what I'm trying to show you here is a very interesting result. If you make serial dilutions of sargassum extract using a proper protocol, what you see is that these are the tomato plants, okay? And if you add 5% of the extracts coming from this sargassum, look at the growth of the plant, okay? And statistically speaking, it's significant because n equals to 20. So I think we have good results showing, at least good preliminary results showing that sargassum extract helps the plants to grow in size. So biologically, we got curious why sargassum helps the plants to grow so fast. So Valeria is currently working on a technique called RNA sequencing, where you sequence the genes of the plant to see which genes are more expressed in addition of these extracts and which genes are less expressed. So here what you see is a diagram that is called volcano plot. For those who are not familiar, I will quickly try to tell you. So all these red dots are the genes, single red dots are the genes, and all these red dots means that the genes are highly expressed, meaning they are present in larger quantity. And all these blue dots means that the genes are present in lesser quantity or they are downregulated. And all the gray dots that you see here are the genes that are not affected. So what happens is that when you treat a tomato seed with a sargassum extract, approximately 2,000 genes are affected. They change their behavior. So we are currently characterizing further these aspects. The second aspect that we are currently working with is to see if we can use this sargassum waste to produce some biopharmaceutical products. So we have this undergrad student, Ricardo, who is currently working on to see the effect of this sargassum extract on several cancer cell lines. So I'm just showing you one of the cell line results that we have so far. And what we can see is that the extracts that we prepare from this waste sargassum actually reduces the proliferation of cancerous cells. But we are still conducting more experiments to be more confident in this result. We also did a transcriptome studies on these cell lines, and what we have found is that if you look at the apoptosis pathway of the cancer, what we see is that the extract that is coming from here really affects the expression of some of the genes involved in apoptosis. Here we found that some of the genes are more expressed and some of the genes are less expressed. The third thing related to the blue agriculture that we're trying to do here is we're trying to do a pilot cultivation of microalgae. And why we want to do it? Because some of the microalgae are rich source of protein. We are working with one microalgae called a spirulina. Some of you might also know this as a cyanobacteria. So there is like a taxonomic conflict between algal biologist and microbiologist, but we would like to call it an alga, microalga. So if you look at the protein content per 100 gram of a spirulina alga, it's 58. And when you compare it with other protein sources, you see that they're drastically low. So this means that this spirulina can serve as an alternative source for protein. And it's very easy to grow in the labs. So we are trying to see if we can do a mass cultivation of this microalga. And to do that, we have developed with the help of our university campus and chancellor and the National Science Foundation, we have built a center for investigation of the microalga. And what we do here basically is that we try to culture these strains that we have got from Texas, and we try to upscale them, okay? And we start in 10 ml tubes and we go to big ponds. One of the ponds you can see here. And then eventually we are going to harvest these algae, and then these algae can be processed as a source of protein. So you can directly consume these algal pellets. So this is one of the things that we are doing here. So if any one of you is interested in visiting us to see this microalgal facility, would be more than happy to receive you. So all of this research work has been possible because we have, we believe to the best of our knowledge, that we have an excellent laboratory platform at our institute. For example, we have a full sequencing platform, which consists of sequencing machine, which consists of real-time PCR machines and all the other accessories, for example, bioanalyzer equipment that is required for running a sequencing reaction. So we have a complete platform to sequence a genome, and very soon we will have a complete bioinformatics platform to analyze the results. So if any one of you is interested in doing a genome sequencing with us, you're most welcome to contact us. As far as the biomolecule characterization platform is concerned, we have LCMS, we have ICP, we have GCMS. We also have a very good microscopic facility. We have fluorescence microscope, and through this NSF project, by the end of this year, we will also have this very highly advanced atomic force microscope and scanning electron microscope. All these different platforms are available to people who are interested to work with us, so you can contact us as to how you can use these platforms. We do several outreach activities every semester, and if you want to know more detail about the activities that we do, you can just click on this link, www.br.inter.edu/news. But right now we have some of these events coming up, and I thought that you might want to know, because these activities help us to connect not only to the students, but also to the community and the farmers. So we have this, I think it means 12th symposium of young students who would like to present their results at a platform to discuss with other colleagues. We also have some undergrad research opportunities in the NSF project. And then we are also organizing an agricultural workshop for farmers and people who have little or no background in biological courses. So this is some of the things that we do here. So in summary, I just told you who we are, what we do in terms of crop biology, what we plan to do and contribute to do to the society in terms of blue agriculture. And we always try to integrate all of this so that we can pass this information to the community, to the students, and to the other people who are interested in the work. So this is to end the presentation. I have a long list of people who I would like to thank, but foremost, I'd just like to thank our Chancellor, Dr. Juan Negron Barrios, excellent graduate and undergraduate students that we have, collaborators from the Inter-Guayama campus, and all our collaborators from Puerto Rico and outside Puerto Rico, including the world. And of course, a big thanks to all the funding agencies which have helped us to carry out our work: NSF, USDA, Department of Education in the United States of America, Puerto Rico Big Idea Challenge from Banco Popular, Corteva, Hispanic Federation. And I think with this, I will sum up my presentation, and I would be happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. we have some questions that we'll be answering at the end of the second presentation. So we hope that you stay tuned with us and
Sure.
and continue
Sure.
Having fun with us and learning about this fascinating subject. So
Thank you. Yeah.
and thank you very much, Dr. Alok Arun. Vamos a estar continuando con la sesión de Rody Rivera, quien nos estará hablando sobre el proyecto Rémora de la UPR Río Piedras, como parte del National Champion 2020 de Ecatus, Puerto Rico. Al final de la sección de Rody Rivera, estaremos abriendo el espacio para las preguntas, tanto para las preguntas dirigidas al doctor Alok Arun, como también las preguntas dirigidas a Ecatus, a Rody Rivera y a los estudiantes participantes del proyecto. Si desean enviar sus preguntas, recuerden que tenemos la sesión de Q&A o QIA en el espacio de Zoom y los comentarios en el espacio de Facebook Live. Así que ahora con ustedes los dejo con Rody Rivera, quien es Country Leader de Ecatus, Puerto Rico. Rody, ¿nos escuchas?
¿Me escuchan? ¿Me ven bien? No sé si me escuchan o me ven bien.
Le escuchamos, sí, le escuchamos. Nos falta la camarita solamente.
Ok. Estoy
Ahora
aquí.
sí.
Ahora sí. Bueno, buenas tardes y gracias primero por estar aquí, por habernos invitado a ser parte del evento, ¿no? Es para nosotros un privilegio como organización el poder compartir y ser parte de este ecosistema que está trabajando por el desarrollo, ¿verdad?, sostenible y el mejor uso de los recursos de nuestro país, ¿verdad? Que hablamos que son escasos y limitados, pues cómo los utilizamos efectivamente. Muchos se preguntarán o quizás han escuchado por primera vez qué es Ecatus, ¿no? Es una palabra que muchas veces decimos de qué se trata, ¿verdad? Yo soy Rody Rivera Rojas, soy el director de Ecatus en Puerto Rico y Ecatus es una organización que básicamente invierte en el desarrollo de la nueva generación de líderes representada principalmente por estudiantes universitarios que utilizan y ponen su talento a disposición del desarrollo de proyectos en comunidades que tienen alguna necesidad. El objetivo es lograr que esas comunidades logren un desarrollo económico, social y ambientalmente sostenible. Así que hay muchas organizaciones que trabajan con estudiantes, todas tienen su rol y el rol nuestro está dirigido en cómo ese talento, cómo ese estudiante utiliza lo que aprende en un salón de clases y lo pone en función para el desarrollo del país, pero sobre todo para comunidades que tienen una necesidad imperante en alguna área. Así que básicamente nosotros tenemos tres elementos. Nosotros vemos oportunidades, tomamos acción sobre esas oportunidades y como resultado promovemos el progreso. La realidad, ¿verdad?, es que Ecatus es una organización que no nace en Puerto Rico, nace en el año 1975 en los Estados Unidos y nace un poquito diferente porque nace desde el punto de vista de un grupo de empresarios que vieron la necesidad de llevar a esa generación en ese momento que ellos querían reclutar a tener unas experiencias distintas. Así que ellos hacen este acuerdo como empresas y motivan el que universidades alrededor de los Estados Unidos empezaran a desarrollar proyectos que buscaban de alguna manera desarrollar destreza de responsabilidad social, ética, actitud financiera y así comenzó. Y comenzamos a desarrollar proyectos, pero ¿qué pasó? Que la energía de los estudiantes fue más grande que la misma idea que se estaba desarrollando y fue así como los proyectos empezaron a crecer y empezaron a tener un significado grande sobre el desarrollo de las comunidades. y de manera orgánica la organización creció y hoy en día estamos en 36 países alrededor del mundo y tenemos como partners a más de 1.700 universidades. En Puerto Rico nosotros estamos trabajando principalmente con equipos en 17 universidades alrededor de la isla, aunque 21 trabajaron este año en el desarrollo de proyectos. Cada equipo trabaja o se desarrolla básicamente como si fuera una empresa y cada uno de ellos identifica una necesidad que quieren atender dentro del proceso. Hoy en día, en Ecatus, ¿verdad? Aquí tenemos los números del que se manejaron hasta el pasado año, pero para que los tengan actualizados, hoy en día nosotros tenemos 17 universidades que han desarrollado proyectos, se están desarrollando 39 proyectos, de los cuales 4 de ellos están teniendo, digamos, una expansión hacia México, Guatemala, República Dominicana, y el proyecto que van a conocer hoy, que van a trabajar hoy, ya tiene planes y trabajo hacia moverse hacia la India. Así que básicamente nosotros buscamos que los equipos desarrollen proyectos que tengan la capacidad de ser sostenibles, replicables y escalables. Y en esa capacidad tener el favor, ¿verdad?, de poder lograr ese impacto en la gente, en la economía y en el planeta, ¿verdad? Así que nuestros estudiantes tienen que identificar cómo con sus estrategias ellos van a lograr tener ese triple resultado, ¿verdad? Y ese triple efecto sobre lo que hacen. No lo hacen solos. Tenemos a más de 25 socios de negocios que están trabajando con nosotros, principales empresas de nuestro país, ¿verdad? Que han decidido invertir en la nueva generación y en el desarrollo de estos proyectos de impacto para el país. El sector académico, cada equipo cuenta con un grupo de mentores, ¿verdad?, que los va guiando dentro del proceso y los ayuda a desarrollar su proyecto, y una red de exalumnos y comunidades que se han puesto a la disposición para desarrollar los mismos. Proyectos hay diversos, ¿verdad? El enfoque de hoy es cómo nosotros utilizamos los recursos. Pero es bien importante para mí que nosotros ahora mismo tenemos proyectos que están trabajando con el océano, tenemos proyectos que están trabajando con el área de educación, tenemos proyectos que están trabajando pura área de tecnología, tenemos proyectos que están trabajando con el manejo de los desperdicios sólidos, tenemos proyectos que trabajan con el desarrollo de comunidades que tienen alguna discapacidad funcional, otros que trabajan con mujeres sobrevivientes de violencia de género. Así que vamos identificando diferentes necesidades que vienen a los equipos de diferentes formas, y esto nace primero de la investigación, ¿no? Todos tienen que investigar, desarrollar, y una vez identifiquen la necesidad, establecer un plan junto con esa comunidad de manera que sea sostenible. Y para que ustedes pudiesen tener un sabor, ¿verdad?, de lo que hacemos, al final del año, ¿verdad?, nosotros competimos. ¿Y por qué competimos? Porque competir hace el desarrollo de nuevas estrategias para los estudiantes. La competencia te lleva a ser mejor, te lleva a identificar estrategias, te lleva a comunicar. Y como organización, nosotros utilizamos la competencia también como una medida de poder darle un sentido de cierre y de triunfo y de accountability a cada uno de los equipos. Así que al final del año ellos presentan sus resultados ante el sector empresarial y se elige aquel proyecto que ha logrado con mayor capacidad el cumplimiento de nuestro criterio, que es qué equipo ha logrado demostrar su liderato empresarial utilizando los negocios y la innovación, teniendo un impacto sostenible y positivo sobre la gente, el planeta y la prosperidad. Y cuando hablas de la prosperidad, estás hablando no solamente de la parte de generar ingresos, sino de cómo ese nuevo ingreso cambia la realidad de esa comunidad con la que tú estás trabajando. Y cambia la realidad de esos individuos y los hacen crecer. Así que no generamos ideas, generamos soluciones sostenibles. Y hoy, pues quisimos que ustedes pudiesen conocer una de esos proyectos y pudieran ver, ¿verdad?, a uno de nuestros equipos en acción. Y el proyecto que les vamos a presentar es el proyecto del equipo de la Universidad de Puerto Rico en Río Piedras, que este año es nuestro equipo campeón nacional y quien va a estar presentando este proyecto a nivel global en el mes de septiembre, en 2 semanas. Estarán presentando su proyecto contra los otros 37 países en 2 competencias. Este proyecto busca trabajar o proveer una solución a la falta de agua limpia que tienen más de 200 comunidades aquí en Puerto Rico y el acceso, ¿verdad?, a esos sistemas. Y ese proyecto se llama Rémora, es una solución distinta e innovadora que ellos han trabajado y ellos van a estar presentando en la competencia global, ¿verdad?, del Ecatus World Cup y son finalistas ya, están entre los 4 mejores proyectos alrededor del mundo en proveer una solución que busca la limpieza de los océanos. Así que les vamos a compartir ahora la presentación. Creo que le tienes que dar un poquito para atrás, Will, para que ustedes puedan verla y espero pues que se la puedan disfrutar y al final pues podamos compartir las preguntas.
Water is our most precious natural resource. It is necessary for human survival, biodiversity, the environment, and all living species on the planet.
It embellishes our ecosystem with rivers, lakes, oceans that serve as a home for thousands of species, for recreational activities, and as economic support for hundreds of communities worldwide.
Water is of the core of sustainability and is essential for socioeconomic development, energy, and food production. It is vital to reduce the global burden of disease and improve health, education, and economic productivity.
71% of Earth is water. Despite this, more than 1.5 billion people lack access to clean water to drink, clean, bathe, and grow their food, and almost 4 million people die each year from water-related diseases.
A child dies of these diseases every 15 seconds. That's over 40 children by the end of this presentation. By this time tomorrow, another 2,500 will be dead.
This scenario is not an exception in Puerto Rico. An island full of natural aquatic resources faces the consequences of the water crisis, especially in rural areas where entire communities spend 2 to 3 days a week without water. In fact, over 200 communities do not have service to the local water authority, and 70% of our bodies of water do not meet the EPA's water quality standards.
Today, we're going to show you how we tackle all these issues at once using an innovative project that is currently changing the reality of how water is managed in Puerto Rico. Let us take you to a swimming adventure of amazing results and empowerment.
Knowing that our water sources are essential for tourism, fishing, and other economic activities, we see this as an urgent need to tackle the water crisis, especially in communities that depend entirely on them for its development. We identified the residents of Los Guares at Corozal as our first target population.
What a better way to start this project than the place that I grew up in and suffer its problems firsthand. A community of 27 families who suffer from a shortage of drinking water due to the poor aqua infrastructure, spending over $100,000 a year in costs related to alternative drinking water solutions and being forced to use our nearby river for our daily lives.
We needed a robust and comprehensive strategy. That is why, using our business acumen and innovation, we designed a socially centered approach, integrating all stakeholders. An ecosystem of engineers, professors, graphic designers, environmental experts, And above all, the most important part, members of the affected communities joined us to conceptualize and design a tangible solution.
After multiple meetings and visits to communities, we developed Rémora, a social enterprise where education and community integration go hand in hand with technology, innovation, and sustainability, designing a machinery for monitoring, filtering, and handling pollutants to generate healthy water sources.
We developed Rémora with 3 main objectives: to provide clean water to communities, clean our water sources, and protect biodiversity in water. Rémora is an easily transportable and simple to install device that works by filtering small debris, microplastics, chemicals, and other biohazards from any water source.
This makes Rémora a unique social enterprise in combining multiple filtration technologies in a single system. We can provide clean water to any community and any body of water using reverse osmosis, carbon and zinc filtration, and deionization all together.
To ensure its full impact, we need well-rounded products and transform the way the community interact with their sources of water. We begin by changing their damaging behavior and ensuring proper interaction with the river through an educational program of 900 hours focused on safe practices and clean water measures.
After 10 workshops, we realized that to provoke a long-lasting impact, we needed to strengthen our leadership in the community, giving a trustworthy resident the necessary tools to transform Los Guardias into a sustainable community. And what a rewarding experience that my father emerged as the Rémora leader.
Meet Jose, married, an electrician by profession, a respected figure in the community, and with the savviness of a life full of challenges. Our team, training with the University of Puerto Rico and the Ana Jiménez University system to maximize his knowledge. He became Rémora's first employee in charge of the construction process of our prototype. Jose has been unemployed for more than 5 years, and now Rémora has become a new source of income for him and his family.
With his savviness and knowledge, Jose was able to transform our sketches and plans into a reality and elaborated with us an approach to educate the community. He simplified the design of Rémora and started constructing the machine, something that seemed impossible to achieve short term and that could have taken us more than $50,000 to build. Now, Jose is training other members of the community to work as part of Rémora.
Thanks to his involvement in the project and the training provided, last February we launched our first prototype in the Los Guardias community. In this instance, Rémora cleaned the Cibuco River waters where the community has observed a regulation in the pH levels, dissolved oxygen, E. coli, and other pollutants.
Since then, the community has received a sustainable source of clean water to use in their daily lives while increasing the water quality in the water source. But how do we know this? The community, led by Jose, each week provides us on data on how individuals use many gallons of water, also the estimated use hours of the machine on the river.
We have filtered over 1 million gallons of water, of which 400,000 have been provided to families to use in their homes. Working an average of 12 hours daily, Rémora has helped over 700 individuals have a more sustainable life this year. But our impact goes beyond transforming the lives of over 6,000 indirect individuals. We have also reduced pollutants from our oceans and changed the lives of Jose and Corozal forever.
Hola, mi nombre es José Negrón Ortiz, líder comunitario del sector Los Guardias en Corozal. Rémora ha sido de gran importancia en nuestra comunidad porque nos ha brindado de agua potable y nos ha ayudado a mantener nuestros cuerpos de agua limpios. La gente ha aprendido la importancia de mantener nuestros ambientes limpios para una mejor salud y un mejor progreso en nuestra vida. Y a mí me ha dado la oportunidad de demostrar mis capacidades. Gracias, Rémora.
Amid our success with the Rémora, a new challenge faced Corozal and the entire world, the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, water is more important than ever before and essential to fight this pandemic with the simple exercise of washing our hands.
First, we launched the online version of our educational program called Rémora Educa, created to educate communities being directly impacted with Rémora, and teach about water issues to the general public, generating more than 10,000 viewers our first month. Then, we adapted the Rémora technology from machines working directly in our water sources into home filtration devices that help communities that do not have access to the local water system.
These communities use homemade water systems that collect water from nearby water sources and send them directly into their houses without the necessary safety measures for them to use that water. With our adapted devices, they can have access to clean water by installing Rémora directly into their water pipes, making sure they never lack access to clean water water again and have a safe way to protect themselves from this virus.
But how have we been able to achieve all of this? The answer is our business model. We focused on providing a solution for companies, agencies, and organizations willing to invest in ending the water crisis.
After a buyer chooses what cater their specific needs, our trained members will install the machine in the community and provide day-to-day assistance. With an estimated selling price of $5,000, we cover construction and operational costs, allocating the excess income into a fund to support Rémora in other communities not sponsored by our clients.
With this business model, we ensure access to clean water and develop environmentally conscious economic activities. Our project is already registered as a non-profit organization and is patented, ready to be replicated in other communities. At this time, we have the support of Ford and T-Mobile to use Rémora in various communities in Corozal.
This led us to start a unique collaboration with the Puerto Rico Aqueducts and Sewer Authority to use Rémora in the local water system to eliminate microplastics and use Rémora as the solution for communities not served by the Praza water system. Within the next 6 months, we will serve 10 communities around the island and impacting over 16,000 individuals.
Rémora is a profitable business, being selected by the accelerators Grupo Guayacán and Startup Puerto Rico. On top of this, our project leader, Roman Negron, was chosen as a finalist in the Global Student Entrepreneur Award, representing Puerto Rico. Rémora was selected as a top 4 project in the Enactus One Race for Oceans, being the first and only project ever from Puerto Rico to make it to the top.
To escalate our business, Rémora will start swimming worldwide next year in Mexico, India, and United States with unique collaborations with the universities in these countries. But first, let's hear about our scalability potential from a business expert who's been working closely with Rémora.
My name is Dale Schott, and I am the president and founder of FlexLink LLC. I can tell you that Rémora has installed several systems and cleaned hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in remote villages. The team at Rémora is made up of some of the hardest working individuals that I know. Not only do they work hard, but they think big, and I am betting that Rémora will be an integral part of a clean water solution in the developing world.
This year, we overcame barriers, ensured sustainability, and proved to be unstoppable.
We tested ourselves in the most competitive environments and solved the most challenging water issues affecting communities worldwide.
We transformed the community I grew up in into a sustainable community, working with 10 United Nations global goals, filtering over 1 million gallons of water, and impacting over 6,000 individuals.
We have used innovation to change the way communities, governments, and companies manage their water sources, generating an economic impact of over $300,000, creating 2 jobs and projected revenues of $500,000.
The best is yet to come. We are ready to change the future. Won't you join us? Juntos somos la UP.
Bueno, creo que ahí pudieron ver un poco del trabajo que hacen nuestros estudiantes, y principalmente pues hoy con el recurso del agua, vital en el desarrollo de la pandemia, pero sobre todo vital para el desarrollo sostenible del mundo y del planeta, ¿verdad? Así que como hay 39 proyectos desarrollándose en Puerto Rico, como le dije, en diferentes áreas, pero que quisimos darle algún pedacito de lo que hacemos, y estamos aquí disponibles para preguntas.
Muchísimas gracias, Rody, por tan extraordinaria presentación. Hay varias preguntas dentro de la sección y me gustaría, I would like to invite Dr. Alok Arun for this session. And también tenemos a Omar Negrón, quien fue uno de los estudiantes que participó del proyecto, que puede permanecer, parece que acabamos de perder su señal, pero una vez reingrese, estará con nosotros para también contestar algunas preguntas relacionadas al proyecto de Ecatus, el proyecto Rémora. I would like to start with some questions for Dr. Alok Arun. Anonymous in Zoom asked us, why is it important for us to understand biotechnology and other scientific techniques? Other scientific techniques in agriculture.
Okay, I think that's an excellent question. So it's important for us to know the biotechnological techniques, because if you do not know the techniques, you cannot improve the quality of the crops. Imagine 10 years ago, your life, when you used to buy a tomato from a supermarket and you bring it to your shelf, and then in 2 days, the tomato is gone. But now, because of technology, if you know the technology, you can improve the quality and in fact, the quantity also of tomato. Another example, layman example I'll give you, if you like mushrooms, for example, whenever you go to supermarket to buy a mushroom, what you do is you look at the color of the mushroom, right? If the mushroom has a black patch, you don't buy it. So scientists at Caltech, what they did, using the biotechnological applications, they did some biotechnological engineering, if you'd like to say, which now makes mushrooms always white in appearance. So then when you go to the supermarket, you can buy a healthy, nice, lovely looking mushroom and bring it to your home. So basically, this biotechnological approaches can help you to understand how to improve the quality of plant life.
And are those crops that we are working with, for example, seaweed, are those genetically modified crops, and why so?
Right now, I don't think we have any seaweed or alga that has been genetically modified so far, because the technology is still limited to plants. So the land plants. So this technology has not yet been commercially applied to the plants that is in the ocean.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And this question is for Ecatus. And tenemos aquí a Rody Rivera y Omar Negrón, quienes podrán estar contestando las preguntas. Nos pregunta Luis Torres, nos pregunta a través de Zoom, ¿Ecatus tiene algún proyecto de investigación en el centro de la isla? Nos pregunta a lo mejor cerca del área de Orocovis.
Bueno, no actualmente creo que hay un proyecto en Orocovis, pero el proyecto de Rémora está moviéndose ahora a trabajar directamente con una comunidad en Orocovis. No sé si Omar tiene algo por ahí que añadir.
Sí, actualmente Rémora es como parte de su proceso de expansión, una de las 3 comunidades que esperamos impactar en el próximo mes, Orocovis, en el barrio Pellejas, si no me equivoco. Allí vamos a estar trabajando con una comunidad non-prasa que no recibe servicio del sistema de acueductos para instalarle Rémora para su uso diario, y también hay una actividad de agricultura que se podrían beneficiar de agua limpia.
Estos proyectos son sumamente importantes que hablemos de ello, porque también significan la sustentabilidad de la agricultura en Puerto Rico, especialmente en momentos en que estamos tan familiarizados y estamos en constante alerta ante desastres naturales. ¿Cómo este proyecto de Rémora ayuda grandemente a comunidades afectadas por ejemplo, terremotos en el sur o el paso de huracanes?
Sí, mira, nuestro proyecto surgió justo después del huracán María. Así que básicamente nuestro proyecto siempre se ha trabajado desde una perspectiva de desastres naturales. O sea, nosotros desde que el proyecto comenzó fue a base de un desastre natural, y siempre se ha sido el pensamiento de cada cosa que nosotros hacemos. Rémora, por ejemplo, que su objetivo principal es proveerle agua limpia a las comunidades, está diseñado de una forma que es fácil de manejar y fácil de transportar por las comunidades, y es bastante resistente. Así que si en algún momento tuviéramos un huracán, una tormenta o un terremoto que pues lastime a la comunidad en cierta forma o lastime la infraestructura de acueductos, Rémora va a permanecer ahí por la forma en la que está construida. Y también hay una parte muy importante de nuestro proyecto que incluye una parte educativa. O sea, nosotros nos encargamos de educar a la comunidad en cómo trabajar con esa máquina, cómo manejarla, pero sobre todo cómo atender la situación de agua en un momento de crisis. Y entonces esas dos cosas mezcladas hacen que el proyecto pues, pueda ser sostenible y de uso en medio de un desastre natural.
Mencionaron que este proyecto se va a estar replicando en otros municipios más adelante, o si tienen planes para expandir el proyecto para beneficiar a otras comunidades, algún otros enlaces que hayan hecho con líderes comunitarios o que estén en busca de.
Pues ahora mismo tenemos 2 comunidades a las que nos vamos a mover, bueno, 3 en 2 pueblos. Uno en el barrio Pellejas en Orocovi, nos vamos a estar moviendo a 2 comunidades en Gurabo, pero estamos abiertos a cualquier persona que quiera comunicarse con nosotros y tenga pues conocimiento de una comunidad que necesite un proyecto de agua. Nos deja saber que durante este próximo año nuestro plan es expandernos a la mayor cantidad de comunidades en Puerto Rico posible y eventualmente el año que viene pues ir a otros países como Haití, México, Estados Unidos, donde estamos estableciendo esas colaboraciones. Estamos en busca de colaboraciones de todo tipo, monetarias, de conocimiento científico o personas que quieran trabajar por sus comunidades, se pueden comunicar con nosotros y nos seguimos expandiendo por ahí.
Esa es una de las preguntitas que también teníamos. ¿Cómo nos podemos contactar con ustedes para si desean apoyar al proyecto?
Pueden comunicarse, pueden entrar a la página de enactuspuertorico.com. Ahí tienen información de cómo donarle a Enactus para el desarrollo de otros proyectos como nosotros. Aquí estamos hablando solamente de Rémora y de mi universidad, pero hay otras 17 universidades que también están haciendo proyectos muy importantes y muy relevantes. Pero si quieren donar específicamente a Rémora, pueden entrar a www.remoraproject.com. Y ahí tienen información sobre el proyecto y una parte de contacto donde pueden conseguirnos. También estamos en Facebook como Rémora y nos pueden escribir por ahí. Nosotros les hacemos llegar más información de cómo participar en el proyecto.
Algo importante que quería traer, ¿verdad? Obviamente estamos mirando desde el punto de vista de la comunidad, pero de igual manera las empresas se pueden beneficiar porque muchas veces tenemos por ahí muchas organizaciones y muchas empresas que quieren invertir en el desarrollo, ¿verdad?, de su entorno, y Rémora pues es una alternativa real donde las empresas pueden ver de primera mano su impacto en el desarrollo, ¿verdad?, sostenible de esa comunidad a la que ellos sirven como empresa, pero de las cuales están también a su alrededor.
Nos preguntaron por aquí también, Vivian nos pregunta, ¿cómo se sienten de representar a Puerto Rico en un proyecto tan importante con un recurso tan vital como el agua?
Pues mira, nosotros en la UPR Río Piedras nos sentimos bien orgullosos, bien emocionados. Nosotros somos un equipo bastante novato comparado con otras universidades que están en Ecatus. Surgimos hace 6 años por primera vez, nunca habíamos ganado la Copa Nacional de Ecatus, así que estamos bien felices que este año vamos a representar a Puerto Rico doblemente como el equipo campeón nacional y en la competencia del One Race for Oceans, que busca soluciones para el océano. Así que es bien importante para nosotros esa parte de validación que recibimos y también que estamos trabajando con un recurso que cuando tú piensas en Puerto Rico no es algo que uno diga, bueno, pues aquí hay problemas de agua, porque estamos tan acostumbrados a tener la playa cerca, a tener ríos abundantes, por el ecosistema de vivir en una isla, pero hay problemas de agua bien presentes que a veces pasan desapercibidos y que nosotros mismos cada día nos sorprendemos de las cosas que descubrimos cada vez que vamos a una comunidad.
Y definitivamente, como les mencioné, antes que todo, tuvimos dificultades con la conexión del doctor Alok Arun y no va a poder estar con nosotros, pero le hemos compartido su contacto en caso de que tengan alguna pregunta a través de Zoom y a través de Facebook también lo vamos a estar compartiendo. Volviendo rapidito antes de retirarnos, porque ya estamos un poquito extendidos de tiempo, pero como les mencioné, es un tema sumamente valioso y agradecemos grandemente el esfuerzo de ustedes estudiantes y de los profesores que han estado con ustedes liderando y guiándolos en este proceso, ya que es un tema sumamente valioso. Uno de los recursos más importantes, sin duda alguna el más importante, luego de un desastre natural, lo hemos visto, ya lo hemos lo hemos vivido en muchos casos. Luego de un techo está nuestra alimentación y nuestra hidratación. El agua viene siendo un escaso recurso que es difícil de adquirir, y luego de un desastre natural, pues en muchos casos es sumamente difícil de encontrar, tanto para consumo como para el uso diario. Grandemente agradecemos iniciativas como esta y exhortamos a que ustedes en sus hogares apoyen estas iniciativas educativas, que estudiantes luchan para poder no solamente llevar beneficiarse como estudiantes, pero también a aportar grandemente a la comunidad. Y eso, un gran aplauso para todos ustedes y un agradecimiento. Mencionaron que pueden contactarse con ustedes a través de la página de Ecatus, ¿correcto?
Sí, dos cositas. Número uno, yo creo que ese punto que traíste al final muy importante. Yo creo que Omar, su equipo y todos nuestros 470 estudiantes son el reflejo de que la nueva generación realmente está creciendo con una visión distinta, y que es bueno también conocer lo bueno que hace esta generación por el desarrollo de nuestro país y del mundo, ¿verdad? El proyecto que acaban de ver es un proyecto que tiene una capacidad de moverse y escalar fuera del país, y yo creo que eso es algo que tenemos que mirar, cómo esta generación está levantando y haciendo un mejor uso de los recursos que tenemos en nuestro país, que si muy bien los vemos como algo común para nosotros, como decía Omar, la realidad es que estamos teniendo problemas serios. Y como con ellos, como les dije, hay un sinnúmero de proyectos y temas que trabajamos. Y si usted es un estudiante universitario y quiere desarrollar un proyecto en su universidad, estamos bienvenidos. O si usted quiere solamente beneficiarse del desarrollo de nuestro programa, nosotros le damos un año completo, durante todo el año, diferentes actividades de desarrollo de liderazgo, desarrollo de destrezas y capacidades en diferentes temas. Pueden contactarse con nosotros, también lo pueden hacer a través de nuestra página de Facebook, Ecatus Puerto Rico, y ahí pueden seguir todo lo que va a pasar en la competencia mundial con el equipo de la Universidad de Puerto Rico en Piedras, pero igual también se pueden contactar al 787-365-2507 o al 787-365-2055. Con mucho gusto vamos a trabajar, y si tienen algún proyecto que desean crear, pues podemos conectarlos con los equipos y proyectos que se están trabajando actualmente. Y gracias por habernos tenido acá con ustedes.
Gracias.
Algo por último, gracias Omar por compartirnos los contactos. Los acabo de compartir a través de Zoom y a través de Facebook para todos ustedes que deseen contactarse con los compañeros. Algo que se me pasó mencionar ahorita es también ese empoderamiento a la comunidad, como también involucraron a la comunidad para que fuesen ellos mismos los que continuaran el proyecto de Rémora, y que fuesen de gran provecho para el ejemplo que mencionó el caballero, que también convirtió eso en parte de sus funciones y de su trabajo. Así que
eso es esencial para cualquiera que está desarrollando un proyecto. La realidad es que nosotros le decimos a nuestros estudiantes que para que algo sea sostenible, nuestros equipos no van a ser eternos en las comunidades. Los estudiantes entran y salen de la universidad, pero la comunidad permanece. Así que la clave principal de todo proyecto que desarrollen y que desarrollamos tiene que estar centrado en que la comunidad se apodere. Y por eso debe salir de la necesidad de una comunidad. No podemos crear cosas en la nada. Tenemos que ir allí, vivir la comunidad y de ahí surgir y desarrollar los proyectos que tenemos. Así que la comunidad es el centro de todo desarrollo, y es el que debe quedarse apoderado para lograr los resultados.
Así mismo es. Muchísimas gracias una vez más. He estado tratando de contactar, a ver si podemos conectar con el doctor Arun, pero desafortunadamente pues no hemos tenido éxito, pero agradecemos grandemente al doctor Alok Arun por estar con nosotros al principio de nuestra sesión de webinar, y gracias al señor Rody Rivera y al estudiante Omar Negrón y el equipo de trabajo de Ecatus Puerto Rico, quienes han estado representando a nuestra isla en una iniciativa sumamente importante y valiosa para nosotros y para nuestras comunidades, especialmente, como mencioné, luego de un desastre natural. Muchísimas gracias por su apoyo y su patrocinio a través de Ciencia Virtual. Recuerden que si por alguna razón deseaban escribir pues alguno de los contactos que brindaron los recursos de este webinar o de cualquier otro, puede acceder a nuestros videos en nuestra página de Facebook, nos busca como EcoExploratorio, o en el canal del EcoExploratorio en YouTube. Ahí encontrará todos los webinars de Ciencia Virtual y pues mira, ahí puede darle rewind para el frente, para atrás, y ahí puede con calma darle pausa y escribir cualquier contacto que a lo mejor se haya pasado por escribir. Y si ustedes desean disfrutar de más de Ciencia Virtual y quieren compartir ese conocimiento con más personas, búsquenos en Facebook o en YouTube y comparta ese video con todas sus amistades a través de sus redes sociales para que más personas disfruten de Ciencia Virtual del EcoExploratorio Museo de Ciencias de Puerto Rico. Esto ha sido todo por hoy. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros y nos vemos mañana. Nos vemos mañana a las 11 de la mañana. Recuerden, regístrense a través de Zoom y nos vemos. Que pasen todos bonita tarde.